look at California, Gavin Newscum, who's one of the worst governors, but he's got a good line of stuff, and he'll tell everyone how well he's done. But it's the first time they've ever lost more people than they gained. You know, they have such an advantage. The beautiful ocean, the beautiful weather, everything is beautiful. And they run it so badly with all of the problems. They run it so. He's a crummy governor, but why is it so? Yesterday, and who would sign the bill to even present it to him? He signed a bill that you're not even allowed to ask for voter ID. In other words, it's not like you can't have voter ID. That's terrible, because everybody should have voter ID. You have ID for everything. The Democrats had big ID. You know, when they had their convention, a friend of mine couldn't get in. He said he doesn't have the proper credentials. They want voter ID. Mm-hmm. They had a strong ID. They had an ID that you had to wear, like a prisoner wears, you know, with a number. Mm-hmm. It was like this big card with a picture and everything over their tie. So they have it for the Democrat National Convention, right? But they don't want to have it for the vote. But Gavin Newsom signed a thing that was incredible. He signed a bill that if you ask somebody for identification having to do with voting, I think you've committed a crime, okay? Now, there's only one reason that happens, because they want to cheat. There's no other reason. There's no conceivable.
But are you surprised? I mean, part of me is not surprised with that. I'm not sitting there thinking I'm surprised with what some of these states are doing. California, I mean, you know, there's a reason why he lost two states lost $1 trillion of money under management from 2020. New York and California. They got destroyed. And the first time they had net negative migration in California since 1851, it hasn't happened. Then they got it back to back to back. So, and he just announced 2 days ago that he's raising gas taxes by 47 cents in the state of California. No wonder people are leaving. But I want to go to the tariffs conversation.
Because he doesn't want gas vehicles. He wants to use all electric vehicles.
It's not going to work for him, though. It's not going to work for him.
They're
going to get destroyed. I mean, he's already lost Musk. How do you lose Tesla? How do you lose Musk out of your state?
I asked Elon. He takes this massive company, and he left California. Mm-hmm. I just asked him this question yesterday. I said, when you left, because he's got a good thing in Texas, I said, when you left, did Newscum, I call him Newscum because I think it's a more accurate name, but did Gavin Newsom call and say, can we talk? I want to take you out to dinner. I want you to keep your company. What did he say? He said he never called.
Your biggest entrepreneur in your state leaves, you don't call
Number
him.
one, biggest guy. Number two, big company, very big company. But a big oil company left also, taking thousands of jobs.
Wow.
But my question wasn't that, you know, that he left for whatever. I mean, did anybody ever call? He said, no. I said, did Newscum call you at all? Did he call and say can we have dinner? I'd love you to stay here and we'll work out some tax benefits or something, you know, some incentive to stay. He said, never called. I was amazed at that. And you're talking about thousands of workers and prestige. And having Elon is...
That is wild that you lose and you don't make the phone call.
You know, Elon endorsed me very strongly a while ago. Mm-hmm. And there's no stronger endorsement. He said that if Trump doesn't get elected, this country is going down the tubes. It might not ever survive. He said it's the most important election. I was honored, but I was amazed because I asked him two days ago. I said, did anybody make a play to keep you? Now think of it. You would, if you were governor, you heard a big company's leaving, I would.
First phone call.
At least you're calling, say, is there anything we can do to keep you, right?
You know what I like about, and I do want to go to the tips, and I think this is a great transition. Tim Cook, they asked him, they said, why would you have a meeting with President Trump? Because he's the only president that called me. Oh, okay, let's talk about something else. Of course he's going to have a meeting with if the guy's calling. Why wouldn't you call the CEO of your $3 trillion company? But let's talk tariffs.
I just spoke to Tim Cook.
Tim,
can I tell you?
I think he's a quality CEO. Go for it.
So, if I'm
when you say just talk, when did you talk to him? Like how recent?
2 hours ago.
Okay,
he called me. I didn't call him. And let me give you just a little. The nice part about this long format, you can talk.
Yes,
right. It's very nice. There's something very, as opposed to bing, 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 bing. That's why long format is working. Right?
Yes.
But I just talked to him. But I believe that if Tim Cook didn't run Apple, if Steve Jobs did, it wouldn't, maybe it would be, but it wouldn't be nearly as successful.
Wow, what a statement to make.
I think so. Because I think Tim Cook has done, I think Tim Cook's done an amazing job. And I'm not knocking Steve Jobs. I just think that it wouldn't have been. So I'll tell you a couple of stories. So about second term of second year, I get a call, and they say Tim Cook's on the phone. He calls. He said, "Could I see you, sir?" He's the head of Apple. And I was born in Queens, and I said, "Oh, the head of Apple wants to see me. Let's go, I guess." Even though I'm president, still I was born in Queens, and the head of Apple's calling. And by that time, it was the largest company in the world. It's the largest.
Sure, yeah.
In terms of value at that time. I don't know what it is now, but it was. So he comes in to see me, and it was about tariffs. He said, "You're charging us 25% because I was going to charge them because we're out of China. And the problem is we can't compete with Samsung because they didn't have to pay tariffs because they weren't in China and they were in South Korea." And he said, "It's not really possible for me." And I did waivers, standard waivers. "It's not possible for me to compete with them if I have to pay a tax and they don't to get our product into the United States." I said, "I agree with you." It didn't take long. I mean, I sort of got it, right? And I said, "I'm going to give you a waiver," and I gave him a waiver. But I'm going to give you a 1-year waiver, but I want you to start building your plants in the United States. And he said, "All right." And he actually did. He built one in Texas. He would have built a lot more, but we had a thing called, a change in the administration, which is so horrible what happened because of Russia would have never happened with Ukraine. October 7th would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. Afghanistan, we would have gotten out sooner, actually, than him, but Afghanistan would have never happened as we know it. All of these things would have never. Think of the difference in this country. No inflation. We would have been so rich because we would we would have had 4 to 5 times the production that they have right now. They lost the production and then they got it back because the whole thing was cratering because oil went up to $7, $8 a gallon. So anyway, so Tim Cook called, and then about a year later, he called again on something else. He said, "Could I see you?" Now, most companies send in lobbyists that get paid millions and millions of dollars to talk for them. And they probably say, "We know Trump, we can talk," but they don't. For the most part, they don't. And Tim Cook called me up directly, and he did it himself. Didn't have to pay 10 cents, and I gave him 100% of what he wanted because he was right. I mean, you can't compete with Samsung, and one's paying a tax. But I said, you got to gradually move your company here. But then 3 hours ago, he called me. He said, "I'd like to talk to you about something." What? He said, "The European Union has just fined us $15 billion. I said, "That's a lot." I know the feeling because I get fined too in fake cases. But I don't know if his case is fake yet, but it's a lot. Then on top of that, they got fined by the European Union another $2 billion. So he's a $17 to $18 billion fine. I even said about Apple, "Can you pay that? I mean, do you have that kind? That's a lot of money." And he said something that was interesting. He said they're using that to run their enterprise, meaning Europe is their enterprise. And I said, "That's a lot." I said, "But Tim, I got to get elected first. But I'm not going to let them take advantage of our companies. That won't, be happening."